Hello and welcome to another Canguro English Daily Digest. My name is Christian and today is Wednesday, best day of the week. I'm pretty pumped today, because this morning I had an interview with Scott Thornbury, who is a very influential person in the world of English language teaching. He is a teacher trainer, and he also produced lots of scientific research into the world of language learning. And what's really interesting about him is that I think you could kind of describe him as anti-establishment, right? He's fighting against some of the similar things that I'm trying to fight against. And to give you an example, okay, so if you don't know who he is, you can Google him and read about his work. But him and some other guys, they produced this teaching methodology called dogme, which comes from which is borrowed from that whole cinema movement, dogme from Scandinavia, because it's about moving away from technology and going back to something pure in teaching. And so dogme has 10 key principles and 3 precepts. What a great word, precepts. Now, to give you an idea of what he's about, okay. 3 precepts. First one, conversation-driven teaching. Conversation is seen as central to language learning within the dogme framework because it is the fundamental and universal form of language, and so is considered to be language at work. Thank you. Conversation is everything. That's why we have language, to make conversation. Can't argue with that. Okay. Number 2, materials light approach. The dogme approach considers that student-produced material is preferable to published materials and textbooks, to the extent of inviting teachers to take a vow of chastity and not use textbooks. Wow, and in fact, in the interview, I asked him if the world of teaching would be better if we just burned all the textbooks, and he said, you have to wait until I publish the interview to find out what he said about that. And number 3, emergent language. Dogme considers language learning to be a process where language emerges rather than one where it is acquired. So, as you can see, he and I see eye to eye on a number of these issues, and so it was great talking to him. But obviously he is like a god, and I'm a mere mortal. But he's a very nice man, and I'm going to publish my interview with him in a couple of weeks. So one of the things that he's working to try and do is to debunk a lot of myths about language learning and teaching. Debunk. Now, let's have a look at this word. So you can see that it's in 2 parts, maybe, right? We are debunking. We are sort of undoing something. We're subtracting something, debunking. So what exactly is bunk? Well, maybe you know the word bunk from bunk beds. You know, we have two beds, one on top of the other one. The bunk beds, like maybe if you were in the army, or if you went to maybe boarding school, or if you had one when you were, maybe your brother or your sister, when you're children, you have bunk beds. Everyone wants to be in the top bunk. The top bunk is where it's at, right? Or maybe you know this word bunk from the word which is derived from this, which is a bunker. You know, World War II, the soldiers were in the bunkers, those trenches kind of dug in the dug in the ground. And it comes from the word for seat. Well, sort of similar to a seat. This word still exists in English as bench, right? Bench. So, a bench is like a flat sort of seat. More similar to a table than a seat, right? It's a bench. In Spanish it's banco, and also in Italian it's banco. Banco. And you'll notice that in Spanish and Italian that the banco, the seat, is the same as banco, the bank, with money. And this is very similar, bank, right? Because it comes from the same place. It comes from the same place, which is back in medieval Italy. They had people in the town square sitting at benches, sitting at bancos, and what they would do is they would lend money, like banks. So maybe a medieval farmer would come to you and say, "Hey, Giuseppe, hey, Pasquale, I need 10 liras to buy." Well, I don't know if they had liras. I need 10 gold coins to buy a cow for my farm. And the guy, the banco, he decides if he's going to lend the money or not. And sometimes if the bank gave too much money to the wrong people and they didn't get the money back, then this created a problem. So they had no money to give, so the town officials would come and they would destroy the banco. They would rotto the banco, banco rotto, bankrupt. So that's right, so the word in English bankrupt basically literally means broken bench. Because when the bank in medieval Italy had no money, then... Okay? So debunk means to take away the bank? Take away the seat? No. I was leading you down the garden path. This has nothing to do with seats or banks or nothing. This bunk is actually a short version of the name of a town in South Carolina in America. So about 100 years ago, there was this politician in South Carolina, in Buncombe, in South Carolina, who was given it all of this, right? Given it all of this. It reminds me of that joke. A crab walks into a bar and is given it all this. So the politician in Buncombe was giving it all this, right? But he was talking a load of nonsense. So this nonsense talk became associated with Buncombe. So you can actually say, you're talking Buncombe. You're talking a load of old Buncombe. What? Earth is flat? Buncombe. Right? And so here we have now this verb to debunk means to remove the nonsense. It's a verb. To debunk basically means to destroy myths, to tell the truth, to show that something is false. Like Mythbusters, their job is to debunk things. And it's a great verb, right? You can conjugate it in the past. They debunked that story. And that's what Scott Thornbury has been doing about English language and teaching, debunking myths. So I'm just super excited about everything. I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Digest. It ended kind of weirdly, but it's Wednesday. What do you want from me? And my name is Christian. This is Canguro English, and I'll see you in class.